Vivien Leigh, pictured here in 1937, was a British actress still largely unknown to American audiences. Just 2 years later, she would beat out 1,400 other actresses for the defining role of Scarlett O'Hara. A young Simon Cowell appears on a TV show in 1987, decades before he became a famously harsh reality show judge. At the time, he was working as a record producer, responsible for a few novelty hits, including one by the wrestling stars of the WWF. A forklift moves pallets stacked high with the Salk polio vaccine, a welcome sight for a nation terrified by the epidemic. The boxes marked Rush represented a massive effort to distribute millions of doses and end a disease that paralyzed thousands of American children. A Swedish mail carrier poses in his winter uniform around the year 1900, equipped for the brutal Nordic cold. His heavy fur coat and specialized gear were essential tools for delivering mail across the country's remote and snow-covered terrain. A woman in a full-length fur coat stands by a BMW 2002 in New York's Alphabet City during the 1970s. The scene captures the raw, gritty character of the neighborhood at the time, long before it underwent gentrification. Naturalist William Beebe peers out from the quartz window of the bathysphere, a vessel he co-created for deep-sea exploration. In 1934, he and his partner descended to a record depth of 3,028 feet off the coast of Bermuda in this steel sphere. A soba noodle delivery man in 1950s Tokyo performs a remarkable balancing act on his bicycle. This was a common method of Dime food delivery, requiring incredible skill to navigate busy streets without spilling the stacked boxes. Fashion designer Pierre Cardin sits surrounded by his futuristic space-age designs from 1971. While mainstream fashion embraced bell-bottoms, Cardin was looking to the stars for inspiration, creating uniforms that seemed more suited for a science fiction film. A Pan Am billboard welcomes American visitors to sunny Saigon around 1967, during the height of the Vietnam War. The sign, advertising a Bank of America branch below, offered a strange sense of normalcy in a city at the center of a major conflict. Workers at Henry Ford's Highland Park plant-assemble Model T cars around 1913. The introduction of the moving assembly line, seen here, drastically cut car production time and made the automobile affordable for the average family. The German airship Hindenburg erupts in flames while attempting to dock in Lakehurst, New Jersey on May 6, 1937. The disaster unfolded in less than a minute, claiming the lives of 36 people and bringing the era of passenger airship travel to a sudden end. Refrigerator boxcars sit on the rails in Chicago, 1942, with the city's distinct skyline in the background. During this era, railroads were the primary way to transport perishable goods like meat and produce across the country. A teenage Joan Jett relaxes in a room at the Tropicana Motel in Los Angeles back in 1978. Her band, The Runaways, was challenging the male-dominated rock scene, and the Tropicana was a notorious hangout for musicians at the time. 15-year-old Dorothy Counts endures harassment on her first day at the previously all-white Harding High School in 1957. Due to the relentless taunting, her family was forced to withdraw her from the school just 4 days later for her own safety. Colonel Sanders enjoys his famous chicken alongside Pete Harmon, the operator of the very first KFC franchise. Harmon, not Sanders, was the one who came up with the iconic bucket packaging to sell chicken and sides as a complete family meal. In 1978, arcades were king, filled with machines like the $6 Million Man pinball game seen here. The game was based on the popular TV show starring Lee Majors, a huge hit during that era. Steve McQueen and James Coburn take a break on the set of their 1963 classic, The Great Escape. The German military motorcycle they're riding was a key prop for the movie's famous escape sequences. The animal yawning in this 1933 photo is Benjamin, the last known Tasmanian tiger on Earth. He died in captivity in 1936, marking the complete extinction of his species due to overhunting by settlers. A view of Notre Dame Cathedral from the late 19th century shows a Paris still powered by horses. The double-decker omnibus on the right was a common form of public transportation before the metro system system was built. George Gillette, a tribal chairman, weeps as a deal is signed in 1948. The document forced the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation to sell 155,000 acres of their best land in North Dakota for a federal dam project. In 1964, Macau's harbor was a quiet port filled with traditional fishing junks and low-rise buildings. Today, the same view is dominated by massive skyscrapers, reflecting its transformation into the Vegas of Asia. An Inupiat woman is launched into the air during a traditional blanket toss, or Nalukatak in Alaska. This ancient practice originated as a way for whale hunters to launch a scout high into the air to spot game in the distance. Long before she became vice president, a young Kamala Harris attended Howard University in Washington, D.C. This photo captures her during those college years in the mid-1980s. Actress Sybil Shepherd posed for this photo shoot in 1972. The same year she starred in the hit comedy The Heartbreak Kid. She had just become a major star a year earlier thanks to her role in the film The Last Picture Show. Robert Downey Jr., Anthony Michael Hall, and Uma Thurman hang out on the set of their 1988 film Johnny Be Good. It was one of the very first movie roles for a 17-year-old Thurman, years before Pulp Fiction made her a superstar. A woman in 1950s Kuwait carries her livelihood on her head before the oil boom completely reshaped the country. This was likely a traveling seamstress, taking her essential tool with her to find work in the neighborhood. British inventor Clive Sinclair launched the world's first pocket-sized television, the Microvision, in 1966. The tiny device had just a 2-inch screen and was one of the earliest attempts at truly portable entertainment. Howard Hughes's enormous H-4 Hercules, nicknamed the Spruce Goose, sits in a California harbor before its one and only flight in 1947. Made almost entirely of wood due to wartime restrictions, it flew for just under a mile, with Hughes himself at the controls. These women skating down a New York City street were part of a public campaign during World War II. Their sign encouraged citizens to help the war effort by conserving strictly rationed gasoline. A fisherman tries out a roadside worm vending machine in 1957. These quirky contraptions offered 24-hour service for anglers who needed fresh bait for an early morning start. Harrison Ford sits in a snow tractor on location in Norway while filming The Empire Strikes Back in 1980. He was driving himself to the set for the iconic Hoth battle scenes during a blizzard. A classic yellow Dodge Coronet cab sits outside a Burger King in New York City around 1974. The restaurant's groovy, colorful design was the signature look for the brand during that decade. Bodybuilding champion Arnold Schwarzenegger takes a ballet lesson in 1976 to improve his posing routine. The exercises were filmed for the classic documentary Pumping Iron, which followed his training for the Mr. Olympia competition. The soon-to-be famous cast of The Outsiders poses for a photo in 1983. Director Francis Ford Coppola assembled a group of future stars, including Tom Cruise, Patrick Swayze, and Matt Dillon, for the film adaptation of the popular novel. Actor Roger Moore rides through Venice while filming the 1979 James Bond movie, Moonraker. The scene featured a high-tech gondola that converted into a hovercraft for a chase through St. Mark's Square. Diners enjoy a meal at the Windows on the World Restaurant, located on the 107th floor of the World Trade Center's North Tower. For years, it offered some of the most spectacular nighttime views of the New York City skyline and its bridges. An excavated bronze faucet from the 1st century A.D. shows the advanced plumbing technology used by the ancient Romans. This artifact was preserved for nearly 2,000 years under volcanic ash in the city of Pompeii. Postal workers in London are surrounded by a mountain of packages during the Christmas mail rush of 1952. Before modern automation, every piece of holiday mail had to be sorted by hand, requiring a massive seasonal effort. A teenage Winona Ryder is photographed in 1986, the same year she made her film debut in the movie Lucas. She was just beginning her career and would soon become one of the most popular actresses of the late 80s and 90s. Paris's Rue de Rivoli is seen in 1900 with horse-drawn carriages, and again in 2016 with modern cars. The famous arched architecture of the street has remained almost completely unchanged for over a century. century. Patrick Swayze learns fight choreography from martial arts legend Benny Urquidez for the 1989 movie Roadhouse. Urquidez, who also played one of the henchmen, was hired to make the film's brawls look more realistic. Flight attendants, known as jet bunnies, operate the entertainment system aboard Hugh Hefner's private DC-9 jet in the 1970s. The custom-outfitted plane, called the Big Bunny, was famous for its luxurious amenities. Susan Dey, star of the hit TV show The Partridge Family, poses for a photo around 1970. At the height of the show's popularity, she became one of the biggest teen idols of the era. A vintage City Tour Deluxe bus parks near a 1956 Ford station wagon in the 1950s. This scene captures the classic look of mid-century American tourism, from the vehicles to the style of the travelers. A man chats with swimmers at the El Rancho Vegas Hotel in 1942. As the first resort built on what would become the Las Vegas Strip, it set the stage for the city's future as a desert oasis for entertainment. Flight attendants pose for a publicity photo inside the spacious cabin of an early Boeing 747. The jumbo jet's introduction in 1970 revolutionized air travel, bringing a new level of comfort and scale to the flying experience. In 1909, 66 families gathered on these barren sand dunes to divide the land for a new city, which would become Tel Aviv. They famously used seashells in a lottery to ensure a fair distribution of the plots. Actress Sharon Tate relaxes on the beach during the Cannes Film Festival in 1967. A rising star and fashion icon, she was there promoting her film Valley of the Dolls, just 2 years before her life was tragically cut short. French screen siren Brigitte Bardot walks barefoot with her new husband, Jacques Charrier, in 1959. The ever-present photographer in the background captures the intense media frenzy that followed the couple throughout their turbulent marriage. Winston Churchill pays a visit to Charlie Chaplin on the set of the film City Lights in 1929. The politician was so impressed by the movie-making process that he was inspired to write his own film script.